Okay, and better late than never. This is lesson 275 from the Workbook of A Course in Miracles. God's healing voice protects all things today, and I can't actually get into specifically the reason why I'm laughing, but I can tell you this: this morning I had an appointment that was in a sense, it was an important appointment for me to make. And as I was driving to the appointment, because it could affect me in a lot of different ways. It was an appointment with my probation officer, or a new probation officer here in Kern County. And I'm dealing with the legal system, and who knows what it's all about. And it has a particularly bad reputation here in Kern County, where prisons per profit hire 15 or 20% of the residents of the county. So as I was driving to the appointment this morning, I was reminded the same thing I was reminded each time I was introduced to a new situation. When I was in jail, for the short time I was in jail, and I was reminded that the person who I was going to speak with was the Christ, and I could trust the Christ in my brother. And this lesson today is homage to the fact that God's healing voice did protect all things for me today, including me, and turned the potential situation that could have resulted in further problems into one that was actually more freeing than I ever anticipated it was going to be. So let us today attend to the voice for God, which speaks an ancient lesson, no more true today than any other day. Yet has this day been chosen as the time when we will seek and hear and learn and understand. Now this to me is one of the most important statements and things that we can recognize and understand. Something that, see, there's only one problem, there's only one solution. The problem is always the fact that we're separate, and within the condition of separation, nothing can be known because the condition of separation is unknown and, in effect, unreal. Therefore, cannot be or participate within the kingdom of heaven at all. So there is no knowledge, there's no understanding when you're alone, because being alone is not understandable and leaves you in a condition of not understanding anything, totally bereft, alone, and in a condition where sickness, pain, and suffering and death become welcome over the inner condition of suffering that is produced by the intolerable situation of being separate from everything and having to deal with it. And what this says is, join me in hearing. For the voice for God tells us of things we cannot understand alone, nor can we learn apart. And this harkens to the Manual for Teachers, when Jesus reminds us that, in a sense, the student or the patient brings the lesson that the teacher or the healer needs to learn and cannot learn alone, because all lessons are lessons in the fact that separation is not true, and in the condition of separation, nothing can be known because it is an illusion rather than a reality. There is no knowledge to be gained in separation, and it is only with joining with your brother, with God, with the Holy Spirit, wherein which understanding comes. So the Course says first we forgive and then we understand, because forgiving is turning our mind over to the Holy Spirit and joining with Him, who is the voice for understanding, the great comforter, or many names. So when we join with something, everything becomes understandable, because in that the separation is healed for that microsecond that we allow ourselves the freedom to join in a condition that's maintained by not joining and separation. So it's a great understanding. Okay, let me put it this way. Although it remains a concept, and this is the concept, for the voice of God tells us things we cannot understand alone nor learn apart. Okay, it's a concept that must be recognized and accepted as true in order that we release ourselves from the fear of joining and thinking that in joining guilt will be enhanced. The human mind thinks upside down and backwardly. And this is an incredible reminder that all knowledge, all certainty, all love, all things real are experienced and gained once again back into our recognition by the process of joining, not physically, but at the level of mind where we are already whole and perfect. Therefore, we are joining our brother at the Christ mind. And that's what the contemplation is for the day, of course, the Christ. And the Christ, if you go back and read it, it'll tell you that is what keeps us joined, keeps us whole, and keeps us linked to our reality, to our creation, and to each other as one. And when we free ourselves from the false conditioning of being isolated and alone in space and time, and we finally begin to no longer be afraid to return our mind and our heart to God the way He created them, we find out that all things can be known, because all things being one, in the release of the separation, the direct experience of that oneness, where all meaning is and nothing is lacking, become part of a new way of looking at ourselves. And each time we experience ourselves that way, we are not only renewed, but we begin to recognize the eternal nature of the truth of who we are, and the infinite abundance of love that there is, and that we've stored up. Jesus talks about the storehouse that is stored up for us in the storehouse, and each time we add a whole perfect thought of love of our own to that storehouse, it is multiplied and given back to us tenfold in order for us to share with our brothers here or wherever they are. But I think it's an incredible idea, and I think it's incredibly important to not only get the concept, but to begin to allow yourself to have the experience of stop being afraid of your brother who is the Christ along with you, and joining in that certainty of the truth of who we are as the Christ, so as we can remember what the Christ already knows about who we are, which is that God's healing voice does really protect all things, and we constantly live and eternally live within the protection of His love and His care and His concern in a reality wherein which nothing can intrude. And that's what sort of renders this dream of isolation impossible and unreal. Your healing voice protects all things today, and so I leave all things to you. Yes, and that's the way I felt. You know, in the 12-step program, you learn to recognize when you are powerless over a situation. And the recognition of the idea that you are powerless is how power is restored, because in the recognition of being powerless, you can use the understanding that comes with that recognition to make a decision to turn your heart and your mind over to the care of God as you've come to understand Him. And of course, in miracles, and Jesus is helping us come to understand God as being what love is, and us as He created us to be one in that love. I need be anxious over nothing, for your voice will tell me what to do and where to go. This is exactly what happened this morning. To whom to speak and what to say to Him. What thoughts to think, what words to give the world. The safety that I bring is given me. Father, your voice protects all things through me. And the only thing I can say when I read these lessons is, yes, this is perfectly true. Because in my experience, in my daily willingness, if I am so willing to release myself from the way I think I need to conduct myself in the world based on the terms of the world, when I release myself and in my right mind make a decision to recognize that I don't know what my best interests are in any given situation, and that the Holy Spirit knows what all of our best interests are in every given situation, that I will be given the ability to utilize the power of my decision to empower His decision to be enacted in the situation for me, so that I am protected by God's voice in all things I do and need to fear not. And you can look at it with me. What would be second? How could there be a life second to one within which you no longer fear or experience the guilt and fear of your own existence within space-time, and joy becomes your natural condition?